Hello and welcome. Today we're talking about HTML or Hypertext Markup Language and CSS or Cascading Style Sheets. HTML and CSS. You've probably heard these terms before, but what exactly are they? HTML or Hypertext Markup Language is the backbone. It structures all the content, text, images, everything you see. This code snippet shows how a navigation menu is built using HTML. See the tags like ally and a. They create the links and structure, while CSS or cascading style sheets is the stylist. It controls how the HTML looks, the colors, fonts, layout. It makes sure everything is pretty and organized. Together, HTML and CSS are the foundation of web design. HTML provides the structure and CSS adds the style. They're essential for creating any website you love. What is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Think of it as the blueprint for a website. It's like the set of instructions that tells your browser how to display text, images, and videos. HTML uses spatial levels called tags to mark different parts of page, like headings, paragraph, and tables. These tags aren't visible on the actual website. They just help the browser understand how to structure and show the content.
HTML was created by Sertin Berners-Lee in 1991. The first officially released came in 1993, known as the HTML 1.0. The goal was simple, just like to share information on the web that could be read in browsers. But HTML 1.0 was very limited and many developers were using it yet, so the language did not grow too much. For example, in HTML 1.0, this is a web page was just text inside a paragraph tag, while HTML 2.0, we could already add links to connect one page to another. Then in 1995, HTML 2.0 was introduced. This version became more useful because it's added new features that made creating web pages easier and more efficient from this point. HTML started to evolve into the language that we use today. After HTML 2.0, a new version called HTML 3.0 was introduced. This version became more powerful features and improvements. So these features were heavy and they slowed down browsers, so it was not widely adopted. The came HTML 4.01 in 1994. This version became very popular and was considered a major subject. It gave web developer more flexibility in building website and was widely used around the world. In 2012, HTML5 was released. This is the version that we are still used today. HTML support multimedia, audio, video, and many modern web applications. It made websites more interactive and dynamic.
Here's a simple HTML document. Think of it like writing a letter. First, you declare it's an HTML5 document with doctype HTML. Then everything goes inside the HTML tags, which are like cover of your letter. Inside, there are two main parts. The head, which is like the envelope containing info about the letter, like the title you see in the browser tab, and the body, which is the actual letter, with all the content you see on the page, like headings, H1, and paragraph P. So, how does HTML actually work? It uses these things called tags, which are like little instruction labels wrapped in angle brackets. You put these tags around the content you want to structure, like P for a paragraph or H1 for a heading. Now, your web browser like Chrome or Firefox reads these HTML documents and display them to you. But here's the cool part. The browser doesn't show you the tags themselves. It just uses them to understand how to present the content.
So let's move on to how we handle images and lists in HTML. Images are simple. We use the less than image greater than tag. The src attribute tells the browsers where to find the image file. We have the list. HTML give us two types, unordered and ordered. Unordered lists or bulleted lists use the less than or greater than tag. Ordered lists, which are numbered, use the less than or greater than tag. Each item in the list is marked with an less than greater than tag.
Hi everyone, we were going to talk about the empty HTML elements. So when we say empty HTML elements, first we were going to define the HTML elements. So when we say HTMLs, it consists of start tag, content, and end tag. So the content is in between or inserted in between the start tag and end tag. And when we say empty elements, empty HTML elements with no content are called the empty elements. So for example, BR or the break line is an empty element. So it usually used for the line break. So for example, we have hello world in our code. So if we want to put the other word inside, or put the other word in different line, we will use the break line. So for example, hello, then BR break line and world. And when you display the output, the hello will go the hello and the world will become in different line, or will attach in different line break. Next, we're going to talk about the HTML attributes. So when we say HTML attributes, it's give extra information about the HTML elements. So they are always written inside the start tag, and attributes come in name value pairs like name value. So for example of attribute is the href. It defines for the UR link or for the link. So first, we're going to have a start tag. So it is the A or the anchor tag, then followed by the our attributes that provide information to our link. So we will use the href. Then after that, we will going to attach some links or some display links in our code. So basically, attributes is just give extra information in our HTML elements, or it gives more specific information in our HTML elements. So next, we're going to talk about the HTML comments. So HTML comments are notes you can add in your HTML code. They are ignored by the browser, so the user will not see them on the website. So for example, if you want to have notes or reminders in your code, you can use the HTML comments using syntax. So for example, if you want to have a reminders about your coding, you can use HTML comments, and they do not usually appear in your output or in your final output. It's just a reminder, or it's just a note about your HTML code, and you can do any paragraph, sentences, or even numbers that if you want to have, or if you want to have a reminder about your HTML code. Next, we were going to talk about the HTML formatting. So HTML formatting is elements that use to style text in a specific way. So first, we have the B or the bold text. Bold text is to define letters in your code. Next is for strong. We use strong for important text or semantically stronger than B or for bold text. So next is I is for the italic text. So EM or M is for emphasizing the text similar to I but with semantic meaning. Next is mark. Mark is for highlighted or marked text if you want to highlight or mark some notes in your code. Next is small for smaller text. Del is for delete or strike through text. Next is ins or for inserted or underlined text, or you want to insert some new text or new formulas. Sub is for subscript. lower text like in formulas. And lastly is SUP. SUP is for superscript. It's like for upper text like exponents. So basically, these elements used for specific ways for your coding that helps you to code in great, and also in help you to code in a better way. Next, we were going to talk about the HTML tables. So first, what is HTML table? So HTML tables defined with the tag. So each table row defined with the tag, and table headers defined with the tag. So HTML tables organize data in row and column. So first, we have the table. So table define table. So TR define table row, TH define table header, and TD define the table data cell. So it is a normal cell. So for example, if you want to use the name, age, city in a table, so you can use the HTML table. So in conclusion, HTML table lets you arrange data in rows or column with header. So now we were going to talk about the HTML border, or adding border in HTML. So first is, what is the border attribute? So border attributes means putting a line around the table or table cells. So now the HTML5 doesn't usually supported the adding border in the table, but you can use the CSS instead. So however, the old way, or the HTML old style, supported the border attribute, so we will use the table tag, but it's not recommended in the HTML5. So the new way to use the border is to use the CSS. So in short, adding a border is to draw a line in your table and to make it organized even more. Next, we're going to talk about the merging cell. So merging cell means combining two or more table in one bigger cell. So first, we will have the horizontal and vertically. So when we use horizontal way to merge a cell or to merge a table in one specific bigger cell, we will use the call span to merge cell horizontally across the column. Next is row span. So row span is to merge cell vertically across the row. So in merging a cell, we have two different data. So call span is for the horizontally, and row span is for the horizontally. Next, we were going to talk about the merging cell. So merging cell is combining two or more table cells in one bigger cells or one bigger table. So first, we will having data. So first is the horizontal and vertical. So when we use the horizontal in the in merging a cell, we will use the call span variable. So call span is to merge cells horizontally across the column. In the row span, it merges cells vertically across the row. So basically, merging cell is for combining two or more table into one bigger cell or one bigger table. Next, we're going to talk about the HTML style. So HTML style are used to change the appearance design of the HTML elements. So they are written using the style attributes inside the HTML tag. The style attribute use CSS or cascading style sheets rule. So first, we have the tag name. Tag name is used in the HTML elements like P, H1, and table. Property, in the CSS, property like changing color, font size, background color. Next is the value. So the value for the property like red, 20px, or yellow. So for example, we want to change the color red or the text color. So first, we're going to put the P and style. then put the color red. So this text is red. So basically, HTML style is to change the color or font size or any background color in your code. So this will enhance your coding styles, and also it makes it unique and organized. Next, we were going to talk about the HTML background and HTML colors. So first, we're going to talk about the HTML background. So HTML background is the property of it is background dash color. So it sets the background color in a different color that you want in the element. So for example, like the whole page or just one paragraph, if you want to change the color of it. So next is the text color. So text color, the property of it is color. So it sets the front color of the text inside an element. So in the summary of it, background color we will use is style is equals to double quotation background dash color value. Then for text color we will use is style is equals to double quoting color value. So both are part of CSS styling written inside the style attributes.
HTML font. You can change the style of the text using the font family property. HTML text size. You can change how big or small the text is using font size. HTML text alignment. You can align the text left, right, center, justify using the text align. Text alignment. The text align property is used to set the position of text inside an element. Table width. Use width to control how wide a table is. Styling HTML with CSS. CSS cascading style sheets. Used to style HTML. Make web pages look better. It controls how text, colors, layouts, and designs appear on the screen. Instead of styling each page separately, CSS can style many pages at once. 3 ways to use CSS in HTML. A. Inline. Style written directly inside an HTML tag. B. Internal. Style written inside a less than style greater than tag in the less than head greater than section. C. External. Style written in a separate CSS file and linked to HTML. Inline CSS means you write the style directly inside an HTML tag using the style attribute. It is used when you want to apply a unique style to one specific element only, not to the whole page. And also, inline CSS is good for quick, one-time styling, but not ideal for large projects.
First, let's define what internal CSS is. Internal CSS is a method where styles are applied directly within the HTML document. This is done inside the style tag, which is placed in the head section of the web page. It's a good option for smaller projects or single page website where you don't want to rely on external CSS files. By defining what external CSS is. External CSS involves creating a separate style sheet file, usually with the CSS extension, where you define all the styles for your web page. This file is then linked to your HTML document using the link tag in the head section. The main advantage of using external CSS is that it allows you to manage the styling for an entire web page or website from one location, make it easier to maintain and update. So, CSS fonts allow you to control the appearance of text on your web page by using different font families, sizes, and styles. You can make your content more readable, engaging, and visually attractive. The font family property in CSS is where you define which font to use for your text. Features can help define areas on your web page and visually separate content Borders can be customized in terms of color, width, and style. The basic syntax for adding a border in CSS is the border property, where you can define the width, style, and color in one line. For example, border 2 pixel solid black will give the element a 2 pixel wide solid black border. Tables are common way to display data and information on web pages. And CSS can help us control how content within table cells is displayed by adjusting the padding and alignment of the cells. We can improve readability and overall design. Padding is the space between the content inside a cell and its border. It creates breathing room around the content, making it look less cramped. In CSS, we use the padding property to add space inside the table cells.
Ang bait at ang sakit na dati wala naman, ngayon ay hindi na mailagaan. Ang tanong na walang sagot, luhang nadudulot sa ating mga